So we all want to make money from property, but what is the best way of doing it? Well, in this video, I'm going to be covering the 5 top tips I've got around adding value to property. For those of you that are new, my name is Jamie York and welcome to my YouTube channel where I cover everything property, investment, scaling business and mindset and much more. If you're interested in finding out more, make sure to hit the subscribe button and it would help immensely push this video out to other people if you could just tap that like button. So let's jump straight in. Number 1, the most obvious one, a refurbishment, okay? So one of the easiest ways to add value to a property is buy a property where there's value to add. And one of the most common ways of doing that is through a refurbishment. So typically you'll find a rundown property. This property I'm in is in Sufton Street in Huddersfield, and it was completely wrecked. We end up spending about £22,000 on this property to get it to the standard that it is, and the costs go up dramatically because it's over 3 stories. So typically we'd expect closer to about £18,000, but there are added complications. A quick tip around refurbishments is what you want to do is look at the ceiling prices in the area. So we put a decent spec kitchen in this, but it's not got marble worktops, okay? And it's not a case where if you put £1 in, expect 3 back from refurbishment, like a lot of people do. You need to make sure that you are refurbishing it to the taste and ceiling in the area. So if you're buying an £80,000 property and the end value is going to be 120,000, spend around 20 grand on it. Don't end up spending 30 to 35,000, expecting it to go to 160 to 170. Number 2 is understand that there are other ways to add value to a property. So it could be a lease extension. If it's a leasehold property and it's got a short lease on the property, you are able to add value by extending that lease to 125 years and beyond. It could be that there's space at the back of the property, the side of the property, into the loft of the property that you can go. It could be that there's enough land on the property to get planning for a separate dwelling, massively increasing the land value of the property, or of course you could build that out as well. Other really common one in more city centre locations, so Leeds, Manchester, Newcastle, Birmingham, did I say Liverpool? London as well, is the higher value properties in the area, especially in London, in central London. The difference in price between a 1-bedroom property and a 2-bedroom property, or a 2 into a 3, can increase the value dramatically. So if you can find something, for example, in an area where a £400,000 1-bed in London, but it's got that right layout where you can put the kitchen into one of the bedrooms and then split the kitchen or dining room into 2, very common in those sort of areas, and then the end value of the property being more like 600,000, that's a really powerful way of adding value moving forward without a massive expense on that. To give you an idea, in most areas, adding that 2nd and even that 3rd bedroom, it typically adds around 15% of value to the property, but make sure to do your research in your area. Another way is a lot of people say the money is made when you buy the property, and that breaks down into 3 and 4 here. So number 1, just making sure you get it at a great price in the first place. So the money is made when you buy the property, not when you sell. Now, that's not always true, and I don't fully understand it because there are different ways to make sure you amplify the exit price as best as possible. And by putting in a refurb, you can also have capital uplift as well to get a better price. But they are right when people say money is made when you buy, so make sure that you're getting it at a really great price. So for example, the purchase price of this property, sorry, I'll go to that second, the exit price of this property is going to be around £110,000, and we bought it pretty wrecked for £56,000. Now, there's a lot that has to go wrong through the refurbishment to end up spending an additional £50,000 on a 3-bed end terrace in Huddersfield. So I bought it at a really great price, and that brings me on to number 4, is find the motivation of a vendor. So if somebody's like, yeah, I can wait 6 months to buy a property, that's probably not going to be a property unless you can add an immense amount of value where you're going to get a great purchase price. So I prefer to think that I'm looking for people that are motivated, not people that are distressed. And ultimately it's the same thing, but I think it's a very different mindset that we're going around with that property. So if somebody's distressed, I think you're trying to take advantage of a situation and all of that. So it's just the way my mind works. Whereas when somebody's got a motivation, and it could be because of a wide array of reasons, it could be divorce, separation, moving abroad, accidental landlords, financial reasons, they found their dream house and they're wanting to move on. It could be a lot of different reasons. It's not always finances. And if somebody's motivated, whilst us as investors, whilst we're searching for the best properties possible, you have to bear in mind somebody's selling their property. It's not always about money for them. There are other motivations inclined within selling their property. So understand the motivation, and remember, as a deal packager or property investor, you are a solutions provider. And how can you become a solutions provider? By providing solutions. Well, how can you provide a solution? You need to understand the problem. So when you're communicating with these vendors, understanding the problem and remembering you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and if you use it in that ratio, you'll be able to close and convert a lot more, because all you're really doing is listening, understanding that problem and providing a solution to it. So the final one, and this isn't just for property, it's about every investment opportunity, every business that you have, is find the money first. And with property, it's understanding the exit of the property. So you might look at this property, it's a 3-bed, 3-story terrace property, and you might be thinking, okay, so I'm going to sell it to a buy-to-let. But it could be a buy-to-let. It could be somebody's going to turn this into a mini-mo, a HMO, a smaller HMO. It could be an open market buyer. It could be somebody might look to do an option on this over the long term. It might be somebody's going to build out on it to the side, which they probably won't with this property. But it's all about the exit and what somebody's willing to pay. So if I sell it to my BMV clients, they're going to expect 20% BMV. So if they were my only clients that I could sell this to, then I need to understand that. So the question is, how do you maximize the exit? Well, it's about, if it's an investor, leaving enough room for growth, which I'll give an example of in a moment, but also understanding that if there's motivated vendors, there are also motivated buyers. So let me give an example right now. Hong Kong. Okay, people that are based in Hong Kong, a lot of our investors, and you might be one of them, by the way, watching this right now, is there's a motivation to get money out of the country because it's not particularly stable right now. There's a lot going on, and although it is owned by England, the UK, there's a lot of Chinese intervention right now, and it causes a lot of stigma and worry about for the locals, especially expats over there. And so with the market over there as well, the prices are incredibly high. Like per square foot in Hong Kong is absolutely ridiculous. I was out there not last February, the February before, and people were just stressing about it because it's just immense. So the yields, the return on capital is actually very, very low. Whereas over here, you can get a really strong return on capital without over leveraging. So with that, and the fact that the pound is not particularly strong right now, at the time of filming this, what it means is that people are already getting significantly below market value property just from purchasing at the market value because of the discrepancy in currency fluctuations. So Forex, okay? So the Hong Kong against the pound is really strong on that, okay? So they're going to get that BMV already. What you can also have is a sophisticated investor coming in on a property. So let me give you an example. So we have a property right now that we've purchased for 73,000. It's a massive property. I'm really hoping to do a property review around it. We have got an investor buying it for 150-ish thousand. So it's a great investment for us. We've made a great return. But they're going to turn it into a HMO and have an immense end value to the property of closer to 300,000. So then they're either going to keep that or get it fill up as a HMO and then sell it on to some of their investors and make the margin there. So suddenly we're making a huge margin in that property, but so's the end investor, which is fantastic for all parties. And yes, could I do all of that myself? Yes, but actually it's not what I do. And so I'd rather pass it on to somebody to make a great investment return on it, and I get the return that I need. And it's the same with this property. More than likely, I'm going to sell this to a buy-to-let investor. They're going to get a great return on capital. capital, they're going to get a great tenant in here, and it's going to make a fantastic investment opportunity. And I'm not keeping it myself because I'm going to make my margin that I need, and this is slightly out of my area. So there really is a win-win situation. So I bought it for 56,000, this property. The vendor is over the moon with that. I've refurbished it for about 22 grand. I'm going to sell it for close to 110,000. They're going to get a tenant in there and get an incredible return on capital employed for this property, and everyone's a winner in between. So it's about finding the motivation and on both sides, both on the vendor and the investor. So they've been my 5 tips for adding value to property. I hope this has been really valuable. If you've got anything from this at all, make sure to hit the like button, and of course leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you've got any questions, I'll answer all of them. But it really does help me reach more more individuals just like you. I'm hoping to help as many people become financially free through property. And if you are interested in property investment and other things, all things wealth and business, make sure to smash the subscribe button and the notification bell. Help build the channel up and help me bring more value to you. I'll see you in the next video.